hope you can hear me, and more important, to see my presentation.
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, right. First of all, I'm very appreciated. I'm very happy to present this topic. To be honest, my presentation is a little bit less technical than the presentations before, but I think it's also very interesting for you. The topic, the title is a new digital tool for EU regulation, the Digital Product Passport, under the new eco-design for sustainable product regulations. Here you can see my contacts, Richard Merkel. I'm a member of the Department of Technical Affairs and Standardization. And so here a short brief overview of the VDMA. We are an association for machinery and equipment manufacturers. The VDMA represents over 3,600 members, member companies in the engineering industry, and we are structured in 36 trade associations, 6 regional subsidiaries like Berlin, Brussels, and many other. We have different working groups and forums and departments and and competence centers, and also some more companies and foundations. We are also host of several European global sector committees. But I think from the VDMA, that's enough for today. Let's start with the eco-design for sustainable products regulation and where it comes from. Like the most regulations today in the EU comes from the European Green Deal. It is split in 3 sections: in climate, cross-cutting issues, and circular economy. And without going into all of these different regulations, just here a short overview for climate, for cross-cutting issues, and for circular economy. And with the topic of today, here you see the eco-design, in short, ESPR, and the Digital Product Passport, which is included in the ESPR. To know a little bit more about the eco-design regulation. Today, until now, there was a directive, eco-design directive, as the main instrument for EU circular products. But this directive just includes energy relevant products. And now we have the ESPR, a regulation, not even more directive. And there is a big extension of the scope. So at the moment, it's not even energy relevant products, as well as non-energy relevant products. And when I say a big extension of the scope, I will show you what I mean. Here you see the scope. The regulation applies to any physical good that is placed on the market or put into service, including components and intermediate products. And I think these 2 topics are very important, because now it's also possible that the intermediate products like iron and steel and something like that are also included in the regulation. And there are many requirements and mandatory requirements you had to fulfill. Here's some definitions. A product mean any physical goods that are placed on the market or put into service. Component means product intended to be incorporated in another product. And here again, you see intermediate product means a product that requires further manufacturing or transformation, such as mixing, coating, or assembling to make it suitable for customers. Of course, like in any regulations, there are also excluded categories. And here you see a list. It is not a full and non-exhaustive list. Food, feed, medical products, veterinary, medicinal products, living plants, products of human origin. I don't ask what that means, but just go on. Products of plants and animals, and some vehicles, they are even regulated with other EU regulations. And of course, not any physical good can be regulated at the same time. So there's a first focus. And you here see textile, furniture, tires, detergents, paints, lubricants, and ICT products. And also, you've mentioned the intermediate products like steel, iron, aluminum, and chemicals. That's the first focus. And of course, we are talking about the EU Commission. There's also in the past, the energy-related products like electrical motors and pumps and so on. And there is a first working plan with priority product groups. And here you can also see iron, steel, aluminum, textiles, furniture, tires, detergents, paints, lubricants, chemicals, energy-related products, information and communication technology products, and other electronics. This is even set as the first priority product groups, which getting mandatory under the regulation of the ESPR and a digital product passport. The goal is to address products along the entire life cycle with some special key aspects. So improving the durability, reusability, upgradability, repairability of products, also increasing the recycled content in products, reducing the substance of concern, enabling remanufacturing and refurbishment, high quality recycling, of course, reducing the CO2 and environmental footprint, increasing energy and material efficiency, and the destruction restriction for unsold goods. And now we're coming to the second part of the presentation, exploring the potential of digitalization product informations, including a digital product passport. But the question is, here you see the subtitle, the flagship under the new product regulation. Before that, the question is, what is a digital product passport? So it's a short description. It's a structured collection of product relevant data with predefined scope and agreed data ownership and access rights transmitted by a unique identifier. And it is set up by a decentralized system connected to a European data room based on harmonized standards. And of course, then the content is information and data on the individual product eco-design requirements. I think that's you can see here, there are many subtopics just in the question what. But go a little bit on. Here's some examples for a direct and an indirect impact. So here you see, for example, a manufacturer of electric motors. And the electric motors are expected to be included the Commission's first work program. So if you are a manufacturer of an electric motor, you have to fulfill all the requirements of the ESPR. And also you have to set up a digital product passport with all mandatory data and informations. But you also have to fulfill the requirements from the delivering before from the ESPR for iron, steel, and aluminum, which is also focused on the first working program. And I think the most of you know electric motor. You also have to fulfill the requirements, for example, for the CRMA. It's the Critical Raw Material Act. And there are listed, for example, permanent magnets. So in that case, with the direct impact, you have just in this simple example, you have 3 different digital product passports and topics of fulfilling requirements for the magnets, for the iron and steel, and for the electric motor itself. And of course, then the eco-designment requirements and the DPP for your own product, and the question how to handle the DPP from parallel legal requirements. Now, many of the people who I'm talking to are asking, what is if I had some products what are not under the ESPR? So an indirect impact. Here's an example for that. You are a manufacturer for a forklifter, and probably not foreseen in the Commission's first work program, but also important and interesting because also the forklift is in kind of way under the ESPR. Here in this example for steel, iron, and aluminium. And also, for example, for batteries, there's also a battery regulation. So even if your own product is not listed in the first work program and not under the regulation of the ESPR, you also have to handle the digital product passports from the other regulations and from the other components. So here also, even if their own product is not directly regulated, manufacturers may have significant obligations in regard of the DPP in the future. Here you see the timeline, the outlook for the next years. I think that's very important. The Q&A position in the mid of 2024. I think my expansion is in this month, in June 2024, the final adoption of the text and publication in the EU official journal of the ESPR will take into force. From this point, a maximum of 9 months after the first ESPR work program and the adoption of the DPP data governance structure from the EU Commission will be published. You see the list of possible product groups. That's just a list which is in communication. But the exactly work program, this is the first product group, then the second, the third, and the fourth will be get in force parallel, and the dates will published at maximum 9 months after the publication in the official journal. Also from the publication in the EUOJ, earliest 9 months after the first adoption of, they call it delegated acts under the ESP. The delegated acts said what kind of data we set mandatory for the different working products, for the different product groups. So, of course, for an electric motor, there will be other mandatory data like for a t-shirt or some treasures or shoes. And this is defined in the delegated acts. So from June 24 to the mid of 25, there will be the first delegated acts which defines which kind of data for the different working product groups are set. And also important from this point ongoing, mid 25 to mid 27, earliest 18 months after the first products with mandatory DPP under the ESPR are set. So at the mid 27, it's one of the shortest timelines. Of course, yeah, let's call it moving targets. But you can count on 2027. There are the first products which had a mandatory DPP under the ESPR. Of course, there are some other dates in the timeline. You see there's a battery regulation. And perhaps somebody of you heard even from the battery pass. That depends on the battery regulation, but the battery pass and the digital product passport is the same system. But the battery regulation set into force a little bit earlier in the beginning of 2027. And there are also some other important dates here. I was talking about harmonized standards for the DPP system. They should be available at the end of 2025. And also some other dates, the Implementation Act for the Product Passport Registry. There will be a registry like the SKIP database of the EU Commission. In 2026, there will some specific Commission activities to support companies, especially SMEs, in the implementing of the DPP. And yeah, of course, here in 2028, you can see there will be a second, a third, and a fourth working program with the next product groups. So, but now let's skip to the digital product passport because there are some very important aspects to know. The EU Commission set up a special design structure. They split the DPP in two different parts, the DPP system and the DPP data. To describe it a little bit, the DPP system are all standards, protocols related to the IT architecture, like standards on data carriers, unique identifiers, access right management, interoperability, data storage, data processing, data authentication, data security and privacy, and also the DPP registry. On the other side, on the other hand, you have the DPP data. And like even mentioned, they set up with the delegated acts, and there are included possible track and trace identifiers of the economic operator, name, registered trade name, tariff code or something equivalent, a global location number or something equivalent, authorized representative, and for example, some potential attributes like a description of material components or product related recycled content, substance of concern, environmental footprint profile, classes of performance, technical parameters, etc., etc., etc. Depends on the delegated acts due to the product group. Even said, there are different requirements for the DPP. There are requirements for the DPP system and for the DPP data. The requirements for the DPP systems are included in some general requirements and some specific requirements. For the general requirements, we have the eco-design regulation, the ESPR, and for the specific requirements, there is a standardization request. The standardization request and the eco-design regulation together defines the system. And for the DPP data, there are also some specific requirements, and I also told you, they are the delegated act. With this kind of picture, there are getting up two different questions. So on the one hand, you have the typical question, how? How does the DPP system have to be structured to fulfill the requirements and allow me to enter any data into the DPP, regardless of its background? And on the other side, you have the question, what? What data are mandatory for me in the DPP for the specific product group mentioned in the specific delegated act? Up to here, you see it's a huge structure. Yeah, and it will take some work to implement this kind of system and to fulfill these requirements in your companies. But there are also new business cases. Here's an example. The digital product passport service provider. And it's even mentioned in Article 2 and the definitions. A digital product DPP service provider means a natural or legal person that is an independent third party authorized by the economic operator which placed the product on the market or puts it into service and that processes the digital product passport data for the product for the purpose of making such data available to economic operators and other relevant actors. So in some little pictures, you have a service provider and the economic operator and a contract between them that the service operator is the host and, like the name said, the provider for your products and your data. To look a little bit more in the system here, it was even said that the system is developed by harmonized standards. So there is a standardization request. You can see it here. And for everybody who even heard about the battery pass, you see here in the standardization request, the standardization request is just not for the ESPR. It is also for here union policy on eco-design requirements for sustainable products and on batteries and waste batteries. So the battery pass and the digital product passport is the same. And what is also important, there will not be a DPP system. There only will be the DPP system. It will be one system, not 2, 3, or more. Yeah, some subnotes. The product passport should be as uniform as possible across products, industry sectors, and relevant EU legislations, and the way they are used as consistent as possible. I think that is an important sentence to describe the system. So, to dive a little bit in the standardization request. The standardization request was circulated in May 2023. And what is important is the annex. I think everybody who know a little bit about the standardization work, there is such a big blah blah blah. Then are the Annex 1, and there's also an Annex 2. And I think the Annex 1 is very important because there you can see the list of European and harmonized standards to be developed and the deadline for their adoptions. And here you see the Annex 1. You see, we call it modules or groups, 8 different groups for standards which had to be developed to the deadline of December the 31st in 2025. Here you see standards for unique identifiers, for data carriers and link between physical products and digital representations, access right management, information security, business confidentiality, interoperability, data processing, data exchange protocols and formats, data storage, archiving and persistence, authentications, reliability, integrity, and also APIs for the product passport lifecycle and management and searchability. For these 8 modules groups, there are founded standardization technical, here it is called a joint technical committee, the Digital Product Passport. The full name is Digital Product Passport, DPP Framework and System, with the EOS, the European Organization for Standardization, with CEN and CENELEC. And I also can say under the Senelec JTC24, the responsible technical committee, they are founded 4 working groups, a strategic working group. They doesn't develop any standards. What is more important is there is a working group for unique identifier and data carrier, and you here see they are related to the modules for module 1 and module 2. Then working group for security with the module 3 and 7, and a working group for the interoperability, and they are included the module 4, 5, 6, and 8. And here you see the convener, the leaders. It's Martin Schreck from Norway, Johan Dahlgren from Sweden. The convener of the security group is sorry, but it's already pending, and the conveners for the interoperability group. And here you see Otto Händel, it's from Austria, and me, Richard Merkel from Germany. I'm the convener also of this group. So up to here, I know it's a big topic and a big structure which is coming into force in the next months. Here are my contracts. If there are any questions or you need some more more detailed questions, feel free to contact me, and I'm also answer all questions here in the chat. Thank you.